Literary Nonsense is probably the most confusing Eve music video so far. When I first saw the song, I thought it was literary nonsense, both the song and the title. Listening to other people, there's no clear consensus on the meaning of the music video. As the song puts it, with all these nonsensical things, I leave it up to you. And I accept the challenge, Eve, so today I tried my best to analyze and interpret as much as I could, so don't forget to help me by liking the video. If we start with the title of the song, literary nonsense is a type of literature that balances things that make sense with things that don't make sense, such as the phrase bibbidi-babbidi-boo and Eve's ratata. Just because it is nonsense doesn't mean a meaning can't be attached to it. It requires other elements that make sense to give meaning to the nonsense. The first ratata doesn't have much meaning. Quote, forget about the present, ratata, end quote, until you get further into the song, quote, that isn't me, that's the ratata, end quote. Eve's ratata appears to be talking about emotions, which in itself can be nonsense. Giving nonsensical emotions a nonsensical phrase gives layers to its meaning to that phrase. When Eve says, I'm singing again, it's not me, it's the ratata. He's referring to his desire to sing rather than the logic behind as to why he sings. In a previous interview, Eve talks about how the music he makes allows listeners to be in a space between the real world and the imaginary, which is why the setting for most of his videos are real places with creatures called Zingais. For literary nonsense, the song takes place in Shibuya. Bibbidi-babbidi-boo is another nonsense phrase like ratata, which is a well-known magical incantation from Disney's Cinderella. This could be considered as a magical spell in which Bun, the protagonist, enters another world with the Zingais. You see Bun on a separate screen with the Zingai, but then transition together, suggesting that Bun and the Zingai now share the same plane of existence. The start of the song also looks normal before the black parts lift away, revealing the Zingais on the screen. It's a small detail, but on the small screen, the black parts are being added or reversed back onto the city while Bun faces Hitotsume. Before the magic withers away, let's be reborn. In Cinderella, the magic worked until midnight, which refers to the part of the line, before the magic withers away. In comparison, literary nonsense takes place at midday, rather than end at midnight. Reborn suggests that Bun would change into some shape or form. The visuals used is Bun becoming a monster, completely different from the Bun at the start that kept his emotions in. In dramaturgy, the same animation is used for the lines, we all used to be innocent, but are somehow typecast as monsters. The lady in literary nonsense is called Pylon, most likely because she's wearing a pylon or cone on her head. Pylons are also called witch's hat, which adds to the overall magical theme. So it's not too far-fetched to think that the cone represents a witch's hat. Traffic cones are also used to tell people to avoid or redirect themselves elsewhere. The fact that she's wearing it on her head could mean that she's just as avoidant as Bun when it comes to emotions, emphasized by, hey lady, you're being cowardly. Shibuya is also the same place where Demon Dance Tokyo Boy was taking photos. He appears briefly on screen making a cuckoo gesture as everyone else in the song. He's most likely behind the camera instead of Bun, because he's skilled in the camera, as seen in Demon Dance Tokyo. And Bun is also in the same frame as when the camera appears. Also at one point, Bun was lifeless with his head cracked open, so would be unable to take photos. There's a scene where Bun's photo is being taken, and there happens to be a photo of him in the patient files, which we see in Last Dance. This is speculation, but Demon Dance Tokyo Boy could have been the one to take those photos in the patient files. He travels all over Tokyo and could have taken photos of everyone. It's unfortunate that Bun's photo was photobombed. These files appear again in Eve's manga Kara no Kyoku, and I discussed them further in my other video Last Dance. Cameras and screens are a recurring theme. Dramaturgy has a screen like literary nonsense. Last Dance also has one at the hospital, and both Tokyo Ghetto and How to Devour Life have cameras playing. However, we don't see Demon Dance Tokyo Boy after literary nonsense. He really disappears after that. The two music videos couldn't be any more different, with Demon Dance being fully coloured, with no real Zingais, but rather objects moving. However, the Zingais could be Idagon and Demon Dance Tokyo Boy's crocodile form. In literary nonsense, the music video is completely black and white. The only other music video that's black and white is Outsider, but it has colours afterwards. Literary nonsense black and white music video could be a reflection of Bun's logical thinking. Bun's name originates from Bungaku, which means literary in English. I guess that makes Bun lit. Because Bun means literary, this suggests that Bun follows rules and conventions. The point of literary nonsense in literature is to undermine normal literature rules, so the rat-a-tat and nonsensical emotions within Bun undermines Bun's logical thinking, making him nonsense literature. Bun opens with the line, "I can't get emotional, now I'm becoming cowardly," suggesting that he doesn't allow his emotions to surface, further emphasized by suck it in, but you can't spit it out. At the same time, he understands how cowardly it is to not face his own emotions. Having the ability to prevent his emotions from surfacing is deemed as a good thing for Bun, as he finds his emotions disgusting and illogical, emphasized by the line, "disgusted by your unpredictableness." If you think about it, Bun has a decent argument. Can we all do without emotions? There's no happiness, but there's also no pain, loneliness, or sorrow. Wouldn't it be nice to just exist in a state of being? But that ignores the value of emotions. Even the worst ones like pain serve a function. Resisting emotions lead to an inability to handle them, suggested by Bun's scattered face. A lack of emotions leads your will to become black and white. It can become more difficult to enjoy things and connect with others. Emotions are why I write, because I know you'll be listening. A lack of emotions is where people develop harsh judgments. If you are upset, why can't you just push through it like I can? Which completely lacks empathy and understanding of other people's experiences. The lines, "Let's pour love and loneliness into this heart, the heart has fallen ill," suggest that emotions are a form of sickness. I can't get emotional. I wield the sharpened blade of words with a grin. To him, this mindset is a weapon which grants him the ability to fight against his own emotions. The visuals before the song begins shows that Bun is unstable. It's apparent that Bun doesn't see himself, as in the beginning Bun doesn't see himself on the screen. But when he does look up, he sees the Zingais, and then looks away as his face is being presented on the screen again. Bun's face is broken up and scattered, his emotions are erratic. Bun is aware of this, and decides to suck it in and be cowardly by not dealing with his emotions. Because how does someone deal with something nonsensical? By not facing them, it causes the emotions to increase in pressure, emphasized by gushing high tension. Quote, "I want to reveal myself, as long as it's with you and I. My heart is filled with a false sense of virtue." End quote. Bun wants to get to know himself more, rather than stuff his emotions down. Although the courage to do so was not really there. He's still a coward. Bun gets annoyed with himself, emphasized by, "Curse you and your lies," because in the previous line he stated, "No lies or slips of the tongue," but he is met with his false sense of courage. Even though Bun didn't have the courage, Hitotsume rips him open anyway. I think Hitotsume did Bun a favor by splitting his head open with what seems to be a voodoo book. Whether Hitotsume is bad, good, or chaotic in nature is really up for debate. When Bun's head is split open, we hear a static voice. These words are expressed in quotations in the lyrics, suggesting that these words are coming from elsewhere, Bun's emotional side. "There's no real me" refers to the concept of dramaturgy, which is something that repeats itself in, well, dramaturgy, and As You Like It, the play. The whole world is a stage, and every person plays many roles in their lifetime. Essentially, we don't have a core, but parts of ourselves that can be expressed more or less, and that changes more depending on where we are and who we're with, including ourselves. So there's no such thing as me, and there's nothing like me or not like me. Quote, you all seem to be so interested in me, and surely you all have your own opinions, but they're all wrong, for there is no answer, you see." End quote. Despite being aware that people can express fragments of themselves, we still have opinions of each other based on those parts that we see in a person. Seeing Bun on the screen already gives us an impression of him. The newspaper is meant to inform us, and having Bun on the paper informs us about him. How that paper is written is in the views of the author of that paper, and would most likely give us a certain opinion about Bun. Hitotsume clearly thinks that Bun is crazy in the head, as he makes a cuckoo sign at him. Bun, however, isn't happy that he lost his head, or sense of reasoning. Even while upset, it looks like Bun is holding in his tears. My man needs a hug. Only after does he get his head split open, does he join in with everyone else. Bun starts to make the same hand gesture as Hitotsume midway through the song, and starts to dance, emphasized by the line, "We will become idiots dancing on air." The line can be found in Last Dance, which suggests that ignoring problems makes one an idiot, but grants the bliss of ignorance. Even in dramaturgy, the line, "I don't want to think about it, I want to be an idiot," emphasizes the difficulty thinking about things can bring. Hitotsume makes the same hand gesture in dramaturgy, as well as in literary nonsense. It's theorized that Hitotsume, Sebastian, and Tamago are Bun's Zingais, which are creatures created from a person's emotions. Many of Eve's characters take on the characteristics of their Zingai. Toby with his dragon, Tokyo Ghetto Boy with janitor, and Bun with Hitotsume. Bun's hands and face resembles that of Hitotsume for a moment. Considering how much Bun didn't like his emotions at first, but then faces them, it makes the face-off make sense. The weapon mentioned in the song was Bun's mindset to prevent his emotions from surfacing, which didn't work when facing Hitotsume, as he lost his composure when he was laughed at in scorn. In later music videos, we don't see Bun as often as we see Hitotsume. If Hitotsume is Bun's Zingai, then Hitotsume could either wander off, or Bun has been close by but we haven't seen him in the music videos. Bun's head being ripped open could represent his emotions gushing out. Hitotsume casually performs surgery on Bun by pulling his guts out. He starts to fill Bun's head with books. The guts in his head could be interpreted as to follow your gut. Bun is very logical and hates his emotions. Forcing his gut in his head could be interpreted as to think with your gut rather than logic alone. Because Hitotsume thinks that Bun is crazy in the head, he's trying to fix him. I think. If you can call that fixing. This isn't the last time we see Hitotsume holding a book. At the end of Last Dance, Hitotsume hands over a book to someone. The book is described to be stories in Last Dance, most likely the stories of the protagonists from other music videos. Hitotsume stuffing books in Bun's head is giving him stories or information rather than telling him what to do with it. What Bun decides to do with this information is up to him. The lyrics in Literary Nonsense changes in later verses. I can't get emotional, I've become a coward. And I can't get emotional, don't fear now. The previous line suggests that Bun avoids his emotions in pursuit of logic, while changing the line suggests that Bun wants to have his emotions with his logic. With this new approach, nothing will go to waste. There's another change from suck it in, you can't spit it out, to suck it in, spit it out. Bun is still fed up with his emotions, but no longer keeps it inside. Also to me who isn't me, ratata. This line suggests that Bun is finally okay with his nonsensical nature, that he tells his other self to ratata. The idea to ratata is also mentioned in the lines to know love and then to hurt each other. Even so, we ratata. It doesn't make sense to find love while knowing pain is inevitable in these relationships. Let's open our heart and bring light into this night. Even so, we open our heart to meet our emotional needs, so we ratata to fulfill our nonsensical desires. Other than being Bun's Zingai, there are other theories for Hitotsume. Some suggest that he is the main Zingai for all the other Zingais, essentially the leader, which makes Hitotsume responsible for the organization in Outsider, and the death of Tokyo Ghetto Boy, if that was the case. Bun isn't the only one to get Hitotsume's treatment. Hitotsume also alters Rei, the protagonist from Eve's manga. In the story, Rei was able to see many Zingais, but after meeting Hitotsume, he couldn't see Zingais wandering in the streets anymore. He could only see shadows and his own Zingai. While looking into Eve's videos, someone mentioned how a particular eye keeps repeating itself. And it wasn't just in Eve's videos, but it was also in Japanese media in general. That was when I decided to look it up. Japanese eye art. Very descriptive, I know. But Google managed to find what I was looking for. It's both surprising and kind of scary. Apparently, the eye is called the Eye of Shinjuku. The Eye of Shinjuku is a sculpture by Yoshiko, which can be found in Shinjuku Station. It has been described to be the most eye-catching piece of public art in town. So I found an article that basically talks about how Yoshiko described his artwork, and it says, Shinjuku is a monster that includes the strength of modern Japan, and to express these ideas, the eye that looks at everything in the modern world, such as the flow of time and movement of thought, is the best. The same description can be given to Hitotsume, that he is the representation of the people of Japan, and he sees everything which makes him neither good or bad. Hitotsume's hand also has an eye in the middle of it. This could be resembling the Hamsa hand symbol, which is a symbol used for protection in many religions. It's difficult to figure out what Hitotsume's intentions are, and what he is beyond what we see. Originally, according to an interview with Eve, Hitotsume was a scary figure that he saw in a dream. Quote, "In the hallway of the apartment complex I was living at the time, there would be a skinny and tall person standing. They weren't doing anything. All they did was standing there, forever, and stared at me. After a while, I'll wake up from my dream and go back to reality. I would have this eerie dream once or twice a week. Back then, it was really traumatic for me, an elementary school student. On the day I talked to my mom about it, it was also the day where those dreams stopped. So I thought it would have been better if I talked to her about it even earlier. When I made the song Nonsense Bangaku, there was a character in the horror movies that I watched from time to time that looked exactly like the one from my dreams when I was small. That was how my trauma from my childhood came rushing back to me. I passed the character that appeared in the movie as a resource for Ma-san, and I remember they made Hitotsume-sama based on that." End quote. For Eve to overcome his trauma, he made Hitotsu dance in his videos, and he's come to really love his characters. Music was an outlet which contained his anger and sadness, as well as his loneliness and feelings of despair, which are emotions listeners can feel too, and interpret in their own way. So I hope you enjoyed my interpretation, and if you'd like to see more, click on the playlist for more Eve videos. And until next time, take care.